TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark's at it.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah podcast. I'm excited and delighted to be with you guys. As always, we got another amazing episode planned for you, and looking to get into it. So if you guys who are listening to us live right now, everybody on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, wherever you are listening, man, shout out to you guys. And also, we have the phone lines open as well. For those of you who want to call in with your questions, comments, stories, whatever it is, the phone line is open. And so about halfway through, we'll open up the lines for you guys to call in. The number is 609-663-5577. Call in and say what's up, man. We'd love to hear from you. And just a reminder, don't listen to the YouTube or Facebook audio when you call in. Make sure you switch over to your phone audio. And so, yeah, so we got that technology back up and running. And so this is the second week doing it. We got an amazing discussion lined up, man. It's going to be good. So want to kind of plug a couple things before we jump in. Today is April the 22nd, and we're going to be doing our webinar tonight with Miss Jill Matson. Just spoke with her a while ago, and everybody who is already signed up, you're going to be getting an email from her for some of her materials that she's sending over, angel sigils that she says she's sending. And so that's going to be really cool. But we're doing that webinar tonight at the Mystic Circle, themysticcircle.net. If you'd like to check it out, you can actually get a free 7-day trial and be a part of the webinar tonight at the Mystic Circle. So make sure you guys check that out. You also get access to the last ones that we did. The one last month was with Miss D. Wallace, and she's the mother from E.T. She actually came on and did a beautiful reading with us and kind of teaching how to flow into the spirit, how to tap in, and the lady's really good at what she does. So you get access to that. There's documentaries on there that we've got, meditations, bunch of really cool stuff, nightly hangouts. We're doing something every Thursday. Sunday morning, I lead breath work. Richie Breeze leads breathwork one night of the week, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So for those of you who are wanting to join the School of the Mystics tonight, I see a question there. No School of the Mystics tonight. So we'll be doing the Mystic Circle webinar tonight. So like I said, you can get a 7-day free trial by just going there and being able to be a part of that. And if you miss it, there'll be replays available too. So if you don't want to be a member, you can actually get a single ticket as well. Also, I've been kind of talking about this too. We have our retreat coming up. I have a retreat in Mobile, Alabama, for those of you who want to get up and be a part of that, where we just go into the woods and reset, refresh, and renew. We'll tap in through Kundalini Yoga. We'll be doing breath work, guided meditation, CE5 activation. There'll be some Hape shamanic snuff if you would like to try that. We will also be doing a cacao ceremony, just creating a beautiful space for us to tap in with energy, and it's always an exciting experience. And so if you've never had an experience like that, or you want to tap into the spirit, it's so beautiful when we're able to meet people who listen to the podcast and people who are like listen to the music and all that stuff, and be able to meet you guys in the flesh. So May the 1st is the Alabama retreats coming up. We got 5 seats available for those of you who want to book a ticket there. So just go to TruthSeekah.com and go to the mysticcircle.net to get more info on all that cool stuff. And shout out to everybody supporting on Patreon. Again, this is a listener supported, listener funded show. Doesn't exist without your help. Got a lot of stuff that we're working on. I'm trying to finish up an album, and just so you guys know, everybody who is a patron, when I finalize the album, which will be either this month or next month, you will actually have your name in the credits of the album. So no matter what level of giving you're on for, even if it's $1, you'll have your name in the album artwork, the thank yous, and I'll find some creative way to kind of weave your names in there. So I did that with the last projects, and turns out really cool. So if you want your name in a TruthSeekah album, make sure you become a patron at any level. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's conversation. My friend is joining us today, Anthony Hoyes. Anthony, welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, brother.
Good to have you, man. Got your email. Shoot, I feel like it's been a couple months now that we've had this booked, and here we are, man. You told me the what you do and your music and what you wanted to talk about. And I said, sure, man, let's make it happen. So excited to dive into the topics and subjects with you, man.
I'm happy to do it. You know, it's pretty rare meeting someone who is, we'll just say, awake, and you are definitely that. You've had some quality people on the show, and you know, you definitely you get it. So it'll be nice to not have to answer the same 10 questions.
For sure, we'll go deep, man.
We'll get into it.
So I guess just starting off, just kind of give people just a little bit of background, who you are, what you do, your music, what you bring to the table. We'll start there.
Sure. Well, first, let me say to anyone who's listening to this live, happy Flat Earth Day to you. We have, my name is Anthony Hoyes. I am a death metal vocalist for the band Vorzug. We are signed with Apollyon Music, which is our own label, and we have a distribution deal with Universal Music Group. You know, we've been a band for many years. Basically started it in 2000 and been doing it ever since then. I'll say recently, not too recently, a couple years back, started waking up for myself, started seeing that there are deceptions in the world, started to, really dig into them once I started getting the time. And it became obvious that, we live in, the best way I can describe it is a science fiction world, pretty much. We're taught at an early age that there's not, dragons, there's not magic in the world, there's not this and that, but we had dinosaurs that are, ridiculous creatures if you think about them. We had, all these things that, the laws of physics, for example, those aren't really, accurate as they've been described to us. Nothing's what we're told it's been. So it's been a journey for me. I research a lot of things. I do the experiments, and it's just not it's not what they say. I got into psychedelic research not too long ago, a couple of years back, and that's a whole new thing to open your eyes up to things. And then you can correlate it if you have the capacity to think that government documents are real. I've seen hundreds of government documents saying that, basically space isn't real. It's interdimensional travel. It's, they're making contacts with entities. They're using different, ways of, contacting these creatures, and they're getting information with them. You see these globalist writings for the past 100 years, H.G. Wells, all these people, that, you know, they're 100 years ago. You don't think too much about it, but it's all stuff that's happening today. It's all stuff they're talking about and, you know, building up to. So, I mean, we definitely live in a strange situation that most people have no clue is going on. So, I mean, what's to stop us from thinking that they've lied to us about literally everything?
Yeah. It's hard to trust any narrative that they give us, even with like UFOs and stuff like that. Like everybody's like, we're on the brink of disclosure. The government's going to tell us what's happening, as they're releasing some weird, obscure like UFO footage that, like, if you dig on the internet, you can find way better footage than the stuff that the government's been releasing. Like, we don't know what this is. People are waiting for disclosure, but whatever the government says, you can be sure that the opposite is true. If they say that these are, so if they come on and say that these are our enemies, know that they're your friend. If they come on and say that these are our friends, know that they're your enemies. That's just the stance I'm taking on that, right? But the beautiful thing is, you mentioned we can do our own research. You know, I talk about the CE5 initiative and meditation and psychedelics and things like that. So a lot of people have broken through. I'm reading the comments here. And someone says, Metro says, I just took a large dose of DMT for the first time last week, and it was very life-changing, these experiences and coming in contact with different beings. And just to say that these DMT psychedelic entities are one race of entities, or they only have this agenda, I think that would be very misleading as well. So we'll get into that a little bit more. I want to pick your brain on that, but I always want to go back to the, like, what was the first things that kind of opened you up? Like, was it supernatural paranormal experiences as a kid? Was it watching a movie that lit something within you? Was it being a fan of Marvel and, you know, these movies and stuff that light fires within you? What was it that kind of like captured that magic for you? Whether it was at a young age, or what got you into researching this kind of stuff?
A couple of things. You know, I didn't start thinking about this until real couple years into it. Like, it didn't occur to me. I was 5 or 6 years old. The very first time I had questions about anything was about that age. I had gone onto a plane for the first time, and my neighbor was actually the pilot. He owned his own plane. He took me and my brothers up. And he showed us, you know, basically how to fly a plane very young. And, you know, my question to him was, you know, what's that line way over there, which is the horizon? And he told me that's where the earth curves away. And it didn't seem right because I could see beyond that. But, you know, this is obviously a man. I'm a child. I didn't think anything of it. And so I moved on with my life. That was the first thing, but it always sort of stuck with me a little bit, was that horizon, there's more to it than that. Later on, the first real thing that got me was the film JFK, the Oliver Stone movie. You know, I had heard about the JFK stuff growing up a little bit, didn't think too much of it because, you know, I was a child, but then, you know, I actually see a visual representation, and you know, that got me interested. I learned about Fletcher Prouty. I learned about, you know, the basically Black Ops. You know, learned in a way the Gulf and Tonkin from that. Again, it's little things that stick with you, and then, you know, when you start putting it all together, like, okay, now I know about this, I know about this, I know about that. You can only connect so many dots before you have to sort of ask yourself, you know, why are there all these connections to something? So that was my first real thing. And then, you know, when 9/11 happened, that was pretty much it for me. You know, at the time, my buddy called me up. I was asleep, and he goes, dude, you need to turn on the TV right now. They're flying planes in the buildings. You know, I put the TV on that morning, and right as I turned the TV on, there are people literally jumping out of the buildings on fire, falling to their death. And, you know, the news is saying how it's a good thing they're doing that because otherwise they would burn to death. And, you know, it's all trauma-based mind control very early on, a very early time in the morning. You know, I don't think everyone was in on it, but, you know, it's definitely not what they told us it was. And, they definitely set that up. It was an inside job, in my opinion. You read the Project for a New American Century document that pretty much tells you everything right there. Dick Cheney was not, still not, he's not a good man. Just all the stuff he openly said for his entire political career. I respect Dick Cheney, the fact that he made somebody apologize for getting shot by him.
Yeah, that was crazy, man.
I love the part when he was debating John Edwards, and John Edwards brought up the lesbian daughter thing to him, and he leans into him afterwards and says, "You can go fuck yourself," right on live mic. That's great. But politician wise, the guy's a scumbag, and he did a lot of horrible things for this country. A lot of people blame George Bush. I don't think George Bush knew anything about it. He was not a bright man. They say he's one of our smartest presidents, which is kind of fun. I don't.
He was a cokehead party animal, dude. They groomed him. They say, "Hey, bro, it's your turn." Excuse my language. They say, "Get your shit together. It's your turn. You're up next. You can't be a. We got to change the persona," and they did. He tried his best anyway. I say that.
But, yeah. Well, you see him, right around that time is maybe 98 or so. He really started talking about God all the time and being born again, and you can just see what was happening.
But then there's a footage of him at a party, and they're all drinking, and they're asking him about right-wing conservatives. He's drinking. He said, "Yeah, they're good. They're great taxpayers," and they all have a laugh together. They pay their taxes, and he was laughing about conservatives. It's like, oh my God.
Well, and that's one of the things I want to get into with you. You don't. I'm sure you probably know this, and your listeners know this, but you don't want to be a taxpayer. You don't want to be called anything than what you are, and it's another trick that they play on us. The laws that we think are real have no real impact on us unless we want them to, and it's a crazy thing to say and hear for the first time. But when you actually look into it, it's disturbing, kind of.
Well, the sovereign movement's getting pretty big too. You see a lot of people researching it and trying to invoke it. Strange when you see people who've maybe watched one video and try to do it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this isn't going well." They're like, I'm sovereign. And police like bust through the window and snatch them out the car. But there's other people when they hold themselves, they know what they're talking about. And then they claim sovereignty, and then even the judge has to bow down. There's nothing the judge can even do to them. Really interesting.
For me, I never bring up sovereignty at all, because just the word is weaponized now.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the other thing. A lot of times, a lot of these people will say things that they've heard, but what they hear aren't necessarily correct. And you get yourself into a word situation. We don't know the meanings for most of their words, so. The less we say, the better on a lot of these fronts, but you need to understand who you are and be assertive, but calm, and, don't back down. And as long as you're friendly, then there's no reason for pretty much.
I think they say even, I've heard this again, haven't researched it. They say that marijuana is a legal term. So when you get pulled over and they find marijuana on you, it's like, hold on, no, that's cannabis. Like cannabis is the natural term. And so even with what they say that they found on you is a term that they've created that has this negative connotation with it, that is a legal term. Like you said, it's a legal binding term to your contract of writing you a so-called ticket or whatever.
Yeah, at this point, it's funny because now that I actually want tickets, no one will give me any. Because these people give me tickets, I'm going to take them for a ride, and they know it. So, at this point, I'm not harassed by anyone anymore. But it's just one of those things that it's ridiculous. Once you learn how to talk just a little bit, it changes everything for the people you deal with, pretty much.
Yep. And I mean, one of the craziest ones that we've seen is a friend of mine, Santos Bonacci. Like he racked up, like, I think it was over 30,000. I don't know the exact number of fines, of debts and fines from the government. from traveling across the toll road and never showing up for court and all of that, and he would never pay. And they put him in jail, but he ended up fighting it. And when it was time for his day in court, like, he got released, and there was nothing that they could do to him because, you know, with the sovereign movement or whatever, he's free to travel. You can't say that I cannot. You can't make a road and say I can't travel across it. You know, so that was one of their things. But it's really interesting. Again, I'd be hemmed up. I don't know enough. But somebody like Santos, who's kind of given his life to studying this stuff, man, he, you know, shows you that there's something to it for sure.
Yeah, one of the last things I'd want to do is argue with that guy. I love Santos. That guy is one of the most intelligent people I know, and definitely one of the most, you know, well-read people. The last thing I'm going to do is argue with that guy about anything. He says some crazy astounding stuff, but, you know, when you look into it, it's not inaccurate. So, you know, it's I never got into the whole astrology thing early on, but just the fact that, you know, it's when you wrap astrology in with the, you know, the geocentric idea, it changes a lot. And I understand, you know, you had said before in one of your shows that you were kind of slow to embrace it just because you saw the backlash on it. But to me, that was one of the things that kind of sent me running into it, because it's the backlash of all the same stuff. It's, you know, it's easily disproven. It's easily, you know, it just doesn't make any kind of sense. But, you know, they still yell it at you, and, you know, it's everybody who's convinced of it. So, I mean, that's you know, that's a problem in itself if you're just blindly defending it. And not one of these people know what the heliocentric model is, pretty much. So, I mean, it's crazy when you understand all that.
I just had a weird day yesterday. Woke up, wasn't feeling it, uninspired, unmotivated, wanted to create, knew I needed to, but there was zero creativity. It was really just like, hey, I don't even want to do this anymore, kind of thing. It was just, I just wasn't in it. Like, and I don't want to create nothing if my heart's not in it, right? And so I just had a day, and it was a weird day. It just was. And I got on here and looked at my astrological forecast, and it said, keep to yourself. Today will be uneventful. The energies aren't right for you to create, even though you want to. I was like, oh my God. Like, after feeling this all day, I get on here and read this forecast, and it's like read my mail. It's like, come on. And it actually touched me. You know, I was like, man, something's up. And, you know, I know people who plan their days or plan their weeks and months by their forecast to know, hey, I'm not going to start anything today. I'm not going to go out in public today. I'm going to just rest, and all of that by looking at the forecast and how the energies are set up to benefit them for what they want to create. So if the energies are against you and it's time for you to rest, but you're out here trying to create, like, you know, it doesn't work. So that was interesting yesterday when I read that. So,
you know, it's funny you kind of mentioned that. My drummer Dan, he when I first met him, he would always tell us, you know, it's not in the stars, can't do it today. And I used to think it was just, you know, him being kind of funny or wanting to do whatever. And then you know, I realized he was being serious about it. So like every day he'd be like, no, man, I can't do this today. It's not in the stars. It's, you know, it's bad stuff out there today for us. You know, and we had this show one time. He goes, fuck, man, I don't know if we're going to play this show tonight. I'm like, why not? He goes, that's not in the stars, man. And then we, you know, it was a big delay getting there, and we got there right on time, and we played it, but the whole time we're fucked. And I'm like, kind of. And, you know, that was the time I didn't believe any of that stuff. I didn't know anything about it really. And now that I do, looking back, it's, you know, it's interesting. And then, you know, I'm old enough. I remember, you know, Reagan and even George Bush Sr., you know, they used to bring astrologers into the White House all the time. And it was constantly like a news story. And, you know, you see all these top people with astrologers, and then they'd make a laughing stock out of it eventually. But up until George Bush Sr., you know, Reagan would have them in there all the time, and it was always in the news. It was always like a big deal that they'd come. You know, and there's that quote, you know, about billionaires use astrologers, millionaires don't. You know, it's really interesting when you look into it. You know, you have to take the good with the bad of it. You have to sift through it all, because, you know, it depends on who's writing it, and, you know, what their worldview is. And but yeah, one on the the geocentric model, things make a lot more sense, and I'm really big in the whole astrotheology thing. Santos got me into that stuff, and it makes a lot of sense when you learn what the stars are, just how they really do affect your life.
Mm-hmm. Let's get back to the subject of the DMT experiences and psychedelic realms and entities, and that's something that you told me you've had some experience with. What's your experience with it, and was it DMT, psilocybin, anything like that?
Psilocybin, DMT, LSD are the ones I really focus on. The salvia is interesting. I remember hearing about that stuff back when I was in high school, and everyone said, "Oh, it's kind of like pot, but a little different." And I remember I tried it, and I didn't get enough to really do anything to me, so I didn't think anything of it. And then I tried it not too long ago, and that was a really interesting experience for me. I didn't really care for it, but I thought it was very helpful. The DMT as a whole, it's definitely a life changer. Psilocybin and LSD, they're very helpful. The first time I took LSD, I took just a single tab of it. It didn't do anything for me. So I'm like, oh, next time I'm going to try a little more. So I did like 400 units of it. As a little too much for my first real time. But it was interesting. It was fun. Nothing really changed or, made any kind of life-changing thing, but it was interesting. I definitely felt something different. I was on a whole new plane of things. You could hear different things and see different things you don't normally see. The DMT was, I've probably done that about 100 times now. And I think I've probably done it too much, but it's one of those things where, over the course of a couple years, it builds up, but it's one of those things, like I said, it changes your perspective on everything for those who haven't done it. I first heard about it. Joe Rogan did that thing, that spirit molecule documentary. I heard about that many years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. Never really thought about using it or anything, but then, it was presented to me finally one day after I was actually searching for it for about 2 weeks. Then a buddy of mine's like, hey, I happen to have some. Do you want to try it? So of course I jumped on it, and it changed quite a few things. It really opened my eyes to, what reality is, at least what we think of reality. We'll get into all this stuff, but basically, I have kidney damage. I have kidney failure. I have end-stage kidney disease, basically. So, I'm technically dying. I have a terminal illness, and I'm on a transplant list, and I get dialysis and all that. And, I went through this thing when I was first diagnosed, 2 years ago, about how, I'm going to die soon. It's going to be a rough transition, that sort of thing. And, that's what got me prompted into wanting to try this. I figured, okay, I don't have too much longer. Let's do this. Since doing that, it took all depression away from me. It changes a lot of, positive health things for you. Aside from the tripping aspect of it, it really, they call it the ego death. I have a different sort of point of view on that, but I think you have to have that to grow in a lot of ways. And then, when you read what DMT does and, what it is, it's all natural substances. It's found directly. It's given to us by the creator. There's no doubt about that. It's a plant. people have used it for thousands of years. And it's such a way to where literally it's in everything, it's in our bodies already. They say that when we dream, we release small amounts of it, and that makes a lot of sense. They say when we die, that basically is, for the first few minutes after death, they have brain wave monitors that they do for, I think it's up to like 10 minutes. You're still technically conscious. So during that 10 minutes, when you're dead and you're conscious, that's a real interesting thing to look into as well. What does that mean? The funniest thing about the DMT thing is, when you first have it, you don't know how to describe it to anybody. You see things that there are no words for, shapes, colors that you've never seen, experienced, but yet you know what they are now. You can't really describe them to anybody, but if you ever see them again, you know exactly what it is. And then you look into, you can start getting into sacred geometry, and, there it is right there. That's all the stuff they show you, these entities, I went into it being told, don't make deals with these creatures. Anything you do, basically, they're going to trick you, and they show you what you want to see, basically.
Yeah.
And they show you a few things that seem uncomfortable just to get you to trust them more.
Yeah.
And they display themselves in different ways that's not their true, being or entity, shapes or whatever. And that's definitely a good rule to know when you go into it, and when you're in the beginning stages of stuff. But then you start reading, these globalist white papers and their writings where, they're going into these other dimensions and making deals with them. They're getting downloaded information from them. They come out of these sessions with, just pages and pages of, designs and, technology and stuff. And you start thinking, okay, well, why are they making these deals? How are they doing that? Then you start reading the studies that they do on psychedelics, and, how they're stopping your heart and getting you to stay longer, in the other dimensions. And, then these people are doing sacrifices before they go in. And then, for these, the government documents, for example, they have this one called the Gateway Experience. That was back in the 70s, where this it's called the Monroe Institute. They have a way, you can look them up. They've got a website online.
Yeah.
It's basically a consciousness clinic. It goes into how you can travel, with the meditations, with the substances. They teach you how to do these things. They, you can go there, you can, learn how to do it. It's basically a psychedelic retreat kind of thing, but they also use yoga and meditation and all that stuff. Float rest, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. All of those isolation tank things. All of it, and this is government documents. There's physicists. There's there's army people involved doing this, saying these are the steps we're taking. These are the experiences we had with it. So this definitely works. This is how you make contact with the entities. This is how you do basically you make trades with them, and it goes through different things. So that's one document, and it's got all these things. Also in there, it discusses torus fields, going back to what Santos talks about all the time. It talks about how basically we are in a cosmic egg sort of shape, flat plane with torus fields above us and below us. And, the world is electromagnetic, and they start talking about displacing time and space with this stuff. And, all of that goes into the gateway, it's the Gateway Project or Gateway Experience Operation Looking Glass. And, again, if you're a government document person, it's documented going back, 40, 50 years. there's something to it, and it could be that they're releasing these things now because they know there's an interest in it. But I mean, these, again, you see what they've been doing for however long, and they've known they can do this. The secret space program, for example, that's you hear a lot of people talking about that. I don't think that's a space program at all, because I don't believe space is real. That's definitely a propulsion thing. They have all kinds of stuff for propulsion, for we'll call it magic, things that defy the laws of physics. We don't have any other choice but to call it magic right now. It's just advanced technology that they're, from their own word of mouth there, and their books and whatnot, they got this from the aliens or from entities and other realms, other dimensions. You see theoretical physics, you see string theory, you see all these things that make some sense wrapped up in all this other nonsense. But the things that make sense are things that we've been talking about, in the truth movement now for a long time. The multiple layers of dimensions, I believe string theory is, they say there's 12 different layers. You go into the old text, they just say there's 7 different layers of these, rings, these cosmic rings around us. And, there's the 7 planets that we see, the wandering stars. And, a lot of ancient writings say those are all portals, and those have to do with, God sending souls to us. And, the Tower of Babel, they're trying to get up to these portals, trying to get into heaven. And it's all the same, all the same stuff now with NASA and these space agencies. They're all trying to break out and, go to Mars. I think they are trying to go to Mars, not the planet, but, I'm into the cosmic egg thing. That makes a lot of sense. The outer space of, our world is, over Antarctica, basically. That makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense to me that aliens are coming from, trillions of miles away. I don't buy space for a second, but again, that's something that we can't test for ourselves. We have to take someone's word for it. But what we can do is, the best we can. We can send balloons up. We can do different types of experiments with that. Dave Weiss talks about he can't see stars after 80,000 feet. That's interesting to me. Why can't you? And then it's a nonsense thing. They tell you, because the aperture, you can't see it, this and that doesn't make any sense. I have an iPhone, and every day I go out and take pictures of the sky. I get stars, I get all these things. Not the best camera, and I'm taking it from underneath a street light, so it doesn't make any sense. And this is very simple photography you can do. You can get real good cameras and zoom in on these things, and it's not what they tell us it is. The Crow 777, the second sun. There's no excuse for why we can see these 2 suns in the sky. They say, oh, it's not real, but very clearly you can get a solar filter on a camera and you can do it yourself. So when you say it's not real, what is reality? We don't know anything what reality is.
Let me ask you about this, just going back to the talking about the government and different people and Crowley and all these people supposedly contacting entities or going into these realms to get information, right? That goes back to a lot of different things. Again, people trying to trace that back to demons and stuff like that, or say it's the same thing. Jinn, the idea of the jinn. We did a documentary on it. Just like if you capture a jinn, which is a spirit entity, where we get the term genie from, the genie that resides in the magical lamp. If you can catch the genie, trap it in an object, then it will tell you secrets. It will give you wishes and things like that. So a lot of people kind of tie that into, I guess, going into the psychedelic realm and DMT entities or angels, whatever you want to call them, getting this information. Do you think that all of that is negative, or do you think that negative people are using a force that is neutral for negative reasons? Much like we can see, let's just look at something as simple as the Bible, right? The Bible, look at the Book of Eli, the movie, right? It's a beautiful book of literature, a beautiful book of spirituality, depending on the reader. Some people use it for control. Some people say that if you don't give money to us, God is not going to bless you. God, you're going to go to hell unless you come to our congregation and do it the way that we do it. Other people will use that same text and reveal it and show God's love and God's plan for humanity. And there's different ways of people who get the information and use it for either positive or negative reasons. So I guess going back to the question, do you think that those entities in that realm are good, bad, both, or just neutral in general?
I think that they are, and again, it depends on how you get there. I think there's different substances gets you to different levels. But I think for the most part, it's the same as we have here. It's a mixture of good and bad things there. There is no all good, there is no all bad. You have to have a balance. That's something, again, you go back to ancient text. It talks about a balance. It talks about, the Chinese stuff, yin and yang. Anytime you get too much of one or the other, it's going to be, not so good for you, because there's always a return to where you're going to have to pay that price eventually. So, I think that when you make contact with these things, some of them are good, some of them are bad. And I think a lot of them, they read what your intentions are, I like to joke that, they probably get a kick out of it when we come to visit them, because.
Well, that's what people say. Like, they say, they look at them like, what are you doing here? Kind of a notion. Yeah.
I mean, I'll run through one of mine real quick.
What about let's just say, what about when a white person wanders through the hood who's not from there? What is this guy walking down, this cracker walking down the street? He's lost. Are you lost? Do you know where you are? You're on the wrong street, buddy. You need to get on the other side of that train track. I've had it happen to me. I'm not making it up. Like, so you kind of, I feel like that. We were doing a
show one time in it was essentially Watts, so in the ghetto, and we get lost on the way to the show, and no one wants to pull over because that's definitely is not a neighborhood we belong in. A bunch of long-haired guys and me with my shaved head and goatee, and it doesn't look like we belong there at all. And we end up pulling over and asking this lady, completely cracked out of her mind. She was the sweetest lady to us, though. Yeah. And she told us exactly how to get there. We get there, and we have a great time there. All the people that came out, it was funny because there's a bunch of these metalheads out in the the middle of a ghetto type place, and everyone's like, originally I'm from the LA area, so I know the area pretty well. And I know for the most part, it's not as bad as they tell you it is. But when you're not from there and you're not used to it, it's a scary situation, especially at night. And, we're getting off the on-ramp at one of these places, and this guy opens up his shirt and he's got a gun and he just starts pointing to it and then points at us and goes,
yeah.
As we're driving by, I'm like, okay, well, we're not stopping here. So it's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, one of the fun things about the DMT things I did before was, one of my experiences was I'll smoke it, and then I get this, the best way to describe it is I get like this, instead of blasting off right away, I would always get this feeling of like a feeling out period between me and, whoever I'm interacting with on the other side there. Like I would get this feeling like, it starts slow where like this presence or a feeling will come over me and start like touching my body in a way that's like feeling my energies.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel it right. I have kidney problems, and that's always on my mind. So I always feel it right, small of my back, right where my kidneys are. I feel this real like vibrational energy, but it's always good. It's always a very pleasant thing. And it's always like that goes on for a few minutes, and then it's okay, we accept your energy, and then boom, there you are.
And then is that always on some type of substance, or have you ever had those experiences just through like deep meditation?
This specifically is just for DMT. I have had it in an isolation tank before.
Yeah.
Not strong, but I definitely had some we'll call it an energy disruption or something. There's something different other than just me in that tank. At least it felt that way.
Yeah.
And for that, it's I didn't feel the vibrational energy I normally feel, but there's a presence there that you do feel. And there's very light hallucinations, more, I kept my eyes closed a lot of it, and it's mostly like in your mind, but when you open your eyes, you can see some stuff in there that you don't normally see. And then when you have that blast off feeling, I've had only one bad DMT trip where I don't feel as though I got anything from it, and it was just not a good experience. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't feel well with it. Like, I've had other bad trips, but I've always feel like I've learned something from them.
Yeah.
And if you're, if you have depression or any kind of emotional damage, it's definitely good for that. Maybe not when you don't know it. You probably it changes. Like I said, it's an ego death kind of thing. But I don't necessarily believe in the ego, because it's one of those things that it's a thought experiment thing. They say that you have to kill your ego and understand that you're not really your body, and you're not, the things that you built yourself up to be. And that's true, but the ego itself isn't real. So can you get rid of something that's not real? I mean, it's real because you think it is, but it's not it's not based in our physical, reality. It's just a thought we have. So I don't really think of ego as a hump you've got to get over, but in a way it kind of is. You have to just sort of let things go and realize that, there's more than what we think is going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as the psychedelic research, psilocybin's really interesting. You take 5 grams of that, and you're definitely in a whole new world. I love doing the thing where you look into mirrors when you're on these things. That I get stuck in that, and for me,
that's weird when you're not on anything.
Yeah,
I had a friend of mine who he did a lot of acid in high school, and I remember we used to bring him to church and stuff. And I was dropping him off one day. He's like, "Hey man, you ever looked in the mirror and you feel like it's something else looking back at you?" I'm like, man, I was young. I was like, not really, man. And I got to thinking about it. That's kind of crazy to be looking in the mirror and thinking that, some would say that's demonic possession. You got a demon in you that's talking to you or looking through your eyes or something. But that mirror gazing is a psychedelic experience in itself. What am I? What's in there? And you just kind of get stuck and lost in that, even not on anything. I'll say that.
Yeah, especially if you're taking pictures of a mirror and you're filming it, you see multiple layers of these things. And
there's some interesting videos on that where they just and it like opens up a portal where it's like they just kind of keeps reflecting back until like it looks like a different realm or something on the other side. It's pretty crazy.
I had one of those experiences when I was on mushrooms where I felt the same thing, not necessarily just looking into the mirror. I was I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, this is my body. Sure, it's what I'm. I think I'm an energy, basically. I think we're all energy. This is the experience we're having in this go around of our thing. But it's just started thinking, what's you can see, but what are you seeing? Like your eyes work. They flip images upside down so you can process them. Your mind's telling you what you're seeing, but that's not really what you're seeing. It's just how light's hitting something and what you're able to process. So what we see, that's not reality. It's what we have to think of as reality in terms of our day-to-day construct. But big picture, it's not there, but you start to think, what's behind your eyes, what's the center of thought. I think that, and everyone says, oh, it's your brain, but what is your brain essentially? I mean, we know that the brain is a receptor. We know it's decoding things constantly. So, you have to understand what is that, what is the divine spark, you can call it, that's inside of all of us that made us alive. We think, okay, I'm looking right now, I'm looking at you, I'm seeing you. The image is coming to my eyes, my brain is processing it. But I always felt, especially when you're on, LSD or mushrooms, especially mushrooms for me, that there's something else, there's something else behind, I guess, the brain, or, right at the center of the brain, their core. There's something that's driving all of us to do what we do. Our thoughts create our reality. So what's making us think these things? What's giving us this information that is basically impossible before you think of it? And why is that? Why is something impossible before you know it's real? It's one of those things that it doesn't make any sense to talk about, but when you're on these substances, it makes perfect sense at the time, and you sort of get something that stays with you. Mm-hmm. At least, for me, that's how it always tends to work.
Mm-hmm. I always say, if you can pull one thing out, if you can pull one thing out of that realm that benefits your life, that can help you, whether it's an epiphany or an inner knowing that we're all connected, or I feel like that's true shamanism for one who is able to kind of go and journey back and forth between the realms, and not just do it as a psychonaut, but as someone who's able to do it as a imaginaut and pull something back from that realm and see it manifest in your life, and then to do it for yourself, but then also to help other people do it, like do it for other people, whether it's you doing it on their behalf, or you're teaching them how to kind of manifest in their own life, and showing them the true nature of reality, and the reality that we have in multiple realms, not just this one, but that version of you as an avatar or as your consciousness that's going into those other realms, whether it's through your imagination or you're leaving your body, whatever, maybe all of them, but just to be present while you're there. And so, teaching people how to do that is good. I just want to say, everybody, we have a couple people on the call right now, so we'll jump to these calls here in a moment, and the phone lines are open. We'll begin taking your calls. I see you guys. Number is 609-663-5577. So we mentioned, right, this analogy of going to those realms, and then an entity looking at you like, what are you doing here? And then liken that to the hood. What are these white kids doing walking through the hood? But it's interesting. And my mind works with music, and I'm reminded of a lyric. But BG from the Hot Boys, he said, "My ghetto pass goes state to state. I can go in any hood because I ain't fake." So like I can go in any hood and be accepted and be amongst the people. I can go to the trailer parks. I can go to the hood. I can go with the millionaires and hang out. Right. I can be all things to all people and be present in that environment, kind of thing. There's a difference there. Like, let's just think of going to the hood, because we've done it, whether we're going to buy drugs or whatever, in our teenage years. And you got somebody with you. Like, I didn't come in there by myself. I know Jamal, and I'm friends with Jamal. Who's this guy? Yeah, he's friends with Jamal. I'm a Christian mystic, and so I tie my energy back to Christ, in this white light of Christ that exists in all realms, and he's the highest vibrational form of light that ever existed, and it's pure love and that kind of thing. So I feel like when I journey to those realms, my consciousness is connected with this guide, the Holy Spirit, if you will, that's like, oh man, he's with Jesus. He's with the Christ. Okay, we can't touch him because he's with Jesus. So just like you would go through the hood and you'll get checked. Hey, no, oh man, that's so-and-so's homeboy. Yeah, you can't mess with him. He's riding with so-and-so. But if you was by yourself, you get robbed. They'll take everything from you, take your cell phone, take your wallet, beat you up. But you're friends with so-and-so and you're with him. Is that, could you relate to that analogy at all, of just knowing who you are and knowing that you don't have any fear, you don't have any, you're open to explore? I think all of that stuff is, relatable in those realms.
I agree completely. when you're working in non-nefarious circles, then you have nothing to worry about, I find. We are all connected in whatever way you want to say it, but we are all people, we are humans, we are all connected. I think we all, and I'm not a Christian, but I definitely vibe with the creator. I vibe with an idea of a God. I always wondered why you could have an omnipresent God, because I think God is literally in all of us. I think that's one of what our connection is. But God is nature. God, I'm big in music as well. Sound itself is a fascinating thing when you learn the science of sound.
Yeah.
Sound basically is love. You can use it for hate too, of course, but sound in its purest form is love. And I think that's what you try to, at least most people, I think they strive for that. They want a, you can call it perfection, you can, whatever, you want something higher than what you are. So I think if you, like anything else, you get out of things what you put into them.
Yep.
And if you use it for bad reasons, you're going to get the results you want based on those bad reasons. But it's if you do things with good intentions, and the only thing to fear is fear itself. That's a very accurate quote, because when you actually talk to people, we're basically all on the same page. We have opinions, of course. We all have our own opinions on things, and they don't always line up, but we are who we are. And when you know who you are, and that you're not, you'll use the analogy of hurling through space, or, we know that, for me, I'll say this, I'm not afraid of Corona. That means nothing to me. I'm in no way concerned with it. I live my life accordingly. I don't wear a mask. I don't socially distance. I have no immune system, according to my doctors. I would have been the first person to die from any of this. And literally not one thing in my life has changed. I still have people over. I still do things. The whole time I'm in Arizona. So we have, the city of Phoenix is not is turning liberal, so to speak, in a way, but the state itself is not a liberal thing. Most of the people don't buy into the Corona stuff. The governor shut down a lot of things, but for the most part, he kept things open. He required masks for a little bit, and then when he realized he didn't have that power, he stopped it. It's one of those things. If you are, we'll go back to sovereignty real quick, but if you know that you are not an accident, you're not a mistake, you didn't evolve from pond scum, you're free to walk around. And I don't shy away from going to the ghetto or anywhere else now, because I find that those people, especially, they listen to you when you talk to them. A lot of them are awake. You don't think anything of it, because a lot of people don't talk, and that's what they want us. They want us to not be around each other. They want us to not talk to each other. They want division. They want, especially racial division right now. Black people are people. I'm half Arab. I'm just a regular person. I'm not anything special because of my race. I'm not anything different than you are. It's just one of those things. We're all created equally in the eyes of the Lord, and they sort of give us these distractions so we don't think about it. And it ties into all the law stuff. You don't have to listen to their nonsense if you are a man or a woman, and we'll say man, and that'll encompass everyone. But you are a man, you are a woman, you can do what you please as long as you're not harming other people. And that's something that everyone
interesting. You're kind of quoting Crowley there, and some people would say that that's bad. Do you think that he had good intentions with that? Because people demonize people's work all the time. But you know what I'm saying? At least with the do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Like, do what you want as long as it doesn't harm anyone is usually the connotation that people read into that. Do you think that was something innocent, or was he using that for nefarious personal gains?
He was using that for nefarious reasons. You know, you get into Crowley. I'm not a Crowley person at all. I hate Crowley. He stole all of that stuff from other people. You know, you can, I don't remember off the top of my head, you know, authors and book names like some people do, but, you know, I've read a lot of this stuff, and, you know, these are things that are talked about in the 1400s a lot of times. You know, you for example, the Ars Goetia. That's a book on demonology in a way, if you think about it. It's the Lesser Table of Solomon or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a book on demonology, on how to contact these demons, what they call them. You can also contact angels with it if you know what you're doing. So it doesn't have to be demonology. It could be used for, you know, for good reasons. And then they say, if you know what you're doing when you contact these demons, then, you know, you can control them basically. I don't want to conjure up demons. I do believe in demons.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want any part of that. I'm interested in it for sure, because it's an interesting topic. I'd love to be involved in some way, sort of watching it from the outside. But
yeah,
you know, here's the thing: I used to be into Satanism and all that stuff, you know, early on.
Yeah.
You know, I was a metal guy. That's what we were sort of.
Me too.
We go into image, but you know, I realized a few years back, sort of, without anybody prompting us to do this, you know, a lot of people do these things and use these images, and, you know, we may not all mean it or intend it, but if you're using it and it's meant for a certain thing, then that's what draws your energy. So it's all, you know, psychic vampires basically is how I like to put it. You know, these entities are there, and I've contacted, you know, a lot of these things myself. So it's one of those things where it's crazy when you haven't done it, and it's crazy to hear people talk about it. But, you know, you see all these things, and, you know, you see what the stuff Crowley did, and, you know, he said we're going to use it for, you know, for harming people. He was using it for bad stuff. He was an ends justify the mean kind of guy, and I don't necessarily believe that. I can understand the value for some people and some of those things, but you know, he was doing pedophile rituals and stuff like that, and there's no cause for any of that.
Well, that's one of the things too, and we don't have to jump too big into it, but, you know, we're talking about good and evil, like a good entity or what is good or what is evil. And so a lot of those people, we talk about the elite, you know, if we're looking at 9/11, like, they justify, again, the means to the end. Like, we have to, you know, so many people have to die in order for these laws to get passed. Even where we're at right now, I don't want to even say that word too much on YouTube, but, you know, so we have to do this, and you know, it's, you know, all this planned stuff, but you know, the means justifies the end. That, listen, is we have things that we have to get past, or where we're going to go in as a society. I don't think any of this is accident by any stretch of the imagination. I've studied just enough to know that it's planned, just enough to look into 9/11 or Gulf Tonkin or whatever, you know what I'm saying, to know that they haven't told us the whole truth. So again, when people will do evil stuff and then justify it in the end, me and my wife watched a serial killer documentary. Those are huge right now. Everybody's infatuated with them. But this guy, he was, you know, killed all these women, and he's in jail justifying it. You know, and he's made up these stories in his head why it was okay to do it. Well, yeah, this woman said this and I blacked out. And it's like it was another thing, because he had started doing it over and over and over. It's like, God, this guy has a different scenario in his head. We're like, hold on, this guy's a serial killer. And in his mind, he's like, well, she was ripping people off. He was a prostitute ripping people off, so I had to take her out. This weird, come on, dude. So these are the kind of people you're talking about. And that dude, right, is a serial killer. He killed a woman, right? Or eight women, 13 women, whatever. We're talking about serial killers on a mass level. And I don't want to get too big into this. I'll pull this damn channel. We're talking about serial killers killed 13,000 people with the push of a button, with the sign of a document. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's who we're talking about. So we don't have to go big into that. Let's don't make it negative. Well, let's jump to the phone lines. We have some people who've been waiting for a while. Because we can go down that road and not delete this whole episode. We got Metro on the line, I believe, from the 902 area code. Brother, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hey, what's up? You're going to have to mute the podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm talking about. We don't have to go big into that. Let's not make it negative.
Are you there? Oh, hold on. I know. Let's see.
We have people who've been waiting for a while.
Unmuted.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
Hey, man. Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing today, man?
Good, bro. Welcome to the show.
Good, man. Thank you. It's a little bit hard. You're cutting out a little bit, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a couple questions here written down. Like I said, I took DMT for the first time last week, and it was really life-changing. But I didn't see any entities. Like, is that a normal thing?
It
I
depends.
can't hear you right now.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, I wasn't sure if you were just cutting out or if you weren't talking. Sorry about that.
It depends on how much you take. It depends on, it's silly. It also depends on your state of mind. When you go into it assuming you're going to have a result, you don't always have that result. And sometimes, I've had an experience myself where I used it. I had contact with an entity. They looked at me. You feel this presence that's, they communicate with you directly into your brain. They're looking at you, looking over you, and it said to me, "You've been here too much. You're wasting your life. Go do something, then come back."
Mm-hmm.
Not the only one that's had that sort of experience, so sometimes you're either not getting enough or they're not ready to deal with you yet. Sometimes you have to be, in a mindset, but yeah, it's definitely a life changing. Even if you don't make contact, you did make contact. You just don't remember or don't realize you did.
You didn't see something.
You didn't see anything, but they definitely saw you.
It was so extreme and so intense in that moment that I don't feel like I did remember a lot of the stuff, but I have taken it a couple times. But I don't mean to switch the subject so drastically, but are you a flat earther?
100%.
Okay. So this has been in my family for a couple of years. About 6 years ago, my mom came to me and said, "Hey, son, I think the earth is flat." And I said, "Mom, you're fucking crazy." Sorry, excuse my language. I didn't mean to say that. Now, she still believes it, and I am very up in the air with it. Now, why should I believe it?
I can literally sit here for hours and tell you reasons why you should. I won't do that. What I'll say to you is go out and research it for yourself. But real quick, give me 2 reasons why you think the Earth would be a globe.
Okay. Well, what does longitude and latitude mean on a flat Earth? Does it have any meaning, or is it just does it not exist?
It exists, and basically what it means is the fact that it's a way of trapping us, essentially. But what it means is, I don't have a way of really showing, but let's say that this right here, looking straight forward at it, let's pretend we're looking down. So we're looking down at the circle of the Earth, right? Earth is definitely a circle. It's a ball. The Hebrew for ball and circle are different. So this is a circle of the Earth. Let's pretend that right in the center is what we see. That's the North Pole. So when you have a magnet, you constantly, if you're pointing north, you have to constantly keep turning, no matter where you go, to keep turning north to stay going east or west in a circle around the North Pole. You can go in circles either way, east and west. Those are circles. That's basic.
I just want to very quick. I'm not watching this live because there's a bit of a lag from screen, so it's hard. Yeah.
Okay.
But I am seeing it as we get a minute. Yeah.
So basically, what I'm saying,
keep going,
you can go in circles around either way, east or west. You can go from technically south. You can cross over the north, but once you get over the north, you're gonna adjust correctly. You have to turn your compass back, and you can be going back and forth every time you go. What you can't do on the flat Earth, and what no one has done on the alleged globe Earth, is you can't go south and come up at the top of the ball north. So latitude and longitude, those are ways of making you think, one, that you're on a ball, and two, it is a way of measuring things. Like, for example, we'll use the latitude lines. It's 60 degrees south parallel. You're not allowed to go past that, according to the Antarctic Treaty. So those are actual lines you can, for navigation. But it's meant to keep you thinking that you're on a ball. What's your number two reason for a globe?
Well, I guess I was just going to quickly say, so does South not exist?
It exists, but not in the way that it's described to us. So imagine that again. Let's say you're up in the air and you're looking down on the Earth.
Okay.
Essentially, you have to imagine that the Earth is a lake. We'll call it a lake. The oceans are the water. The continents are the islands side of it. What is containing that water?
Okay, so
we say it's Antarctica. Antarctica is the largest land on Earth. It's the highest land, and it encircles Earth pond or lake. So basically, there's an indented land. That's the water, the sea level, or the sea floor. Then there's the ocean, and there's the actual land on continent. So if you were to get on a boat and sail to any continent, you get off at a dock and you walk right onto that continent. When you go to Antarctica, whether it's a ball or whether it's flat, that is the highest land on Earth. That's 150 to 200 feet ice shelf when you get there. So that is the ice shore, people call it the ice wall. Once you get there, you're not allowed to go there. You got to remember that. But when you are able to go a day or two or whatever the vacation package is, you can go there. They walk you around, but you can't independently travel. So if you keep going south, we've never been there. We're not allowed to go there. There's a reason for that, but no one has been able to go south and then come back. Now you see people who said, "Oh, we walked around Antarctica." Their actual location isn't Antarctica, the whole thing. It's a very small portion of it, and then they turn around and go right back up. So it's one of the things.
I do have another question. And it's the sun. If we are on a flat Earth, how does the sun only cover half of it, per se?
Good question.
Like if there's a sun going around.
The sun and the moon are, we call them local. They are not, thousands and millions of miles away. They are, again, we can't go up there, but a lot of people believe that the sun and moon are closer than 3,000 miles above us. So one, if you have you can do this yourself, get a flashlight and hold it, right above the table, probably about, 3 feet or so above a table. You'll see that the light will come in, basically, they call them crepuscular rays. It's the same as the sun. So they sun rays, if we had a 93 million mile away sun that's as huge as it was, they say it is, then we would have parallel rays coming in constantly. But if you have a source light and then you splash it down, the way it works is it dissipates as it goes down. So it's only covering the area that it's above. Now, because it goes around in a circle, It goes between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer, and then the line in the middle is the equator. It's not, around long ways, but it's around east and west in a circle like describing. So when that goes,
what is the equator?
Say that again.
What is the equator on a flat Earth?
You'd have to look at the model to really understand this, but basically the equator is just it's the middle point between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So the sun migrates between those lines. So as it spins out, like right now in the States, this is our summer. We're getting into our summer. It's closer to the inner ring, which is where we're at. Now, when it starts getting to be our winter, which is the summer for the southern hemisphere, it goes further out. It's higher, or it's out higher in the sky, but it looks lower, to us because it's further out. It's all about perspective. It's the same as when you look down a street, you see, telephone poles going down. They look like they get smaller as you go away. So basically, this goes in between and it heats up, the specified area. So you're only getting, light on one area of it as it goes around. But the sky is basically a perfect clock. So it spins around us on its own area. And that's basically how we have clocks, by the way. They look at the sky. It's a perfect clock.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
If you could see, it would make sense to you, but it's to hear it doesn't make.
Do you have any diagrams, or what do you say that I could look at, like maps that you would point me to?
You gotta look at the episode we just did with David Wise. Like that was because he did a presentation during the interview. It was really good. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Okay. David has a great presentation. Okay. He has an app that you can get. If you don't want to pay for an app, don't. You can look up the it's called the Azimuthal Equidistance Map, the AE map, or just type in Flat Earth Map. If you look at the flag or the logo, you'll see that's the map that the UN uses. And that is, there's that. Then you can also type in Flat Earth Mercator Projection Map. And there's a few different maps out there. They're okay. Fairly accurate. See what's going on with them.
Just one more, or I guess I got a few things, but I don't want to keep you all day. So I'm sure, and it's the same questions I'm sure you heard. What about like the Southern Cross stars and Polaris stars? Yeah,
that's a good question.
You know what I mean?
So we first have to understand what the heliocentric model is to really answer this question. Heliocentric model, we are rotating at the equator at 1,038 miles per hour. We are traveling through the solar system at 6,600 miles per hour. We are chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour, and we are moving sideways through our solar system at over 1 million miles an hour. So right there, we are moving in 4 different directions at 4 different speeds at the exact same time. So when you say what about Southern Cross and about Polaris, none of that makes any sense on a globe Earth that's spinning. Now, what they tell us is we can see Polaris because it's so far away and so big, it doesn't matter how much we spin and everything else. It's always there. That's impossible. It's not. And I can prove that scientifically in a moment. But essentially, what Polaris is, it is the North Star. These things are not trillions of miles away from us. The sky, like I said, the sky itself rotates. So in the north, we can see the North Star. In the south, they see the Southern Cross. Now, as hours go on, the sky will rotate around. So, you'll see in Australia, you'll see the Southern Cross. Then 12 hours later, you'll see it, or 12 hours before, you'll see it in, South America, however that works. And it's all sort of, again, it all depends on where you can see the North Star at as far as 30 degrees south parallel, which you shouldn't be able to see. You're on a spinning ball, but you can see. So, what are stars? Lights in the sky. That's all we can really say about them that we know for sure. We can't test them, but we can see them in things. And if you plot that out on the flat Earth map, we'll understand how the stars rotate above us. It makes perfect sense.
Did you say it was Flat Earth Day?
Well, it's Earth
And
Day.
you said happy.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's funny. That makes sense. I had one more thing. It was, why do things fall down?
It's a good question.
If gravity isn't there.
So you have to again understand what gravity is. Again, watch the episode that Dave Weiss did. He has a whole presentation on it. It's great. But what gravity is essentially, they tell us that gravity is a force. When you look up what gravity is, that isn't a force. They tell you it's not a force, but the talking head science will always say gravity is a force. What is gravity? The Earth has a measurable negative charge to it. This is, again, science you can do yourself. It has a negative charge. If you understand how electromagnetism works, that establishes it down. Density and buoyancy really do sort everything else out, because if you have, you could have a 100-pound iron anvil and you can float it in a pool of mercury. Why? Because the iron is lighter, it's less dense than mercury. That's not defying gravity, but in a way it sort of is. You can put a charge onto anything, and instead of it being attracted, as long as you put that charge and you have something above it as well that has a charge, that has more of a charge than the negative of the Earth, then that will then repulse against it, just like a magnet would. When you put positives and negatives together, they repulse. So that object falling down, it will rise up. It makes perfect sense when you know electromagnetism and then understand density and buoyancy. When I first got into it, I had a real hard problem with accepting the no gravity thing, because I wasn't understanding the electromagnetic part. Everyone was saying density and buoyancy, but when you learn electromagnetism, everything sort of falls in. And then you can this is in government documents. They talk about how relativity is not real. They talk about the space-time continuum is, the world is basically a holographic universe, they call it in these documents, the government documents.
Simulation?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Are we in a simulation?
I won't go as far as calling it a simulation, but we are in something that we don't have a word to explain. I think that, our thoughts make our reality. Everything starts with a thought. If you want to do something, you have the ability to do it, but you have to put in the effort and time to know how to do it. But once you do that, you can be a doctor, you can be a scientist, you can be anything you want to be. If you tell yourself, I'm going to be this, and then you work hard at it, you're going to be that. And it's all because you thought you could do it. That's an oversimplified answer, but it's really, once you apply it to things, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and go to the next caller. If you want, I can just put you on hold, and maybe you can join us back for another question here after the next caller. Is that cool?
Maybe in another time. It was really good talking to you guys. I hope to talk to you guys again sometime soon. I'll still be watching the podcast. It's really entertaining. I'm actually very new to the podcast, so it's very good. I got it through Killer Priest. I was on his podcast the other day.
With the spiders.
You were on it, so I came over here. But I appreciate you, man. Have a good day.
For sure, man. Thanks for hanging out.
On in.
Yes.
All right, peace. All right, we got the next caller from the 856 area code.
Hi,
Jonathan?
it's Devin. How are you?
What up? Who we speaking with?
This is Devin from New Jersey. I joined you recently in a retreat down in Alabama.
Yeah,
so
and
nice
I had
talking to you again.
I had the pleasure to baptize you.
Yes, it was amazing.
Awesome.
Thanks again for all of that.
For sure.
So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the sacred plants. I'm a little bit nervous. Sorry.
Are you good? You amongst
I
family?
feel like they're reaching out to the Western world through music, and almost networking to the modern world. And I'm sorry, I'm really nervous. Give me 1 second.
You good? Take your time. I'll take it from here just for a moment till you can catch yourself. Well, I just went to a retreat recently, and something that's becoming really big is they're hooking these devices up that they got from Italy, from Dmt, and they hooked up these devices to a plant, and it plays music from the plant. So that's really interesting to even just go into plants and music together, and everyone's just like enamored with it. Like everybody's talking about being able to like receive healing, that the plants want to communicate with you, and healing through these tones and frequencies and rhythms and stuff like that. So that's really interesting. There's a lot of people, they're even recording CDs with this stuff, like saying this is the song of ayahuasca. They recorded ayahuasca, like this is ayahuasca's song, and they play it back, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, I almost feel like the plants are evolving to be able to extend to use for us, because we lost our way over here as individuals, to be able to connect to each other, to nature, to each other, and most importantly to ourselves. So I feel like, through your music and a lot of other musicians, particularly your music, I feel like it's almost like a way for the sacred plants to be able to network to the modern world, over to the Western world, to us, to be able to use. And I feel like, your music helps bring forth, the plants, because I'm telling you, when I listen to your music and I use DMT, it is such a connection to Christ and to everything. And I don't mean to get overly emotional about this, but it's very emotional to me. Like I put on your playlist, The Golden Teachers is first. I've got Solar Boat. This is my go-to playlist, by the way. Gateway to the Seer Realm, and Inner Reaches of Outer Space, Leaving My Body, The Land of Make-Believe, and I Am. Those songs are so powerful. And when you listen to them, I mean, it's just a connected, you just, you start with your intentions is very important, with DMT. But, and then you bring in, the Christ aspect of it, and you ask for Christ to be with you. And it's just the most powerful experience, and connected to God and everything that is holy to me. There's no words to describe it. I don't know about entities and things like that. I like to feel like I'm being guided when I'm doing this, taking part in this. But I just wanted to reach out and just thank you once again for your music and everything that you do for us seekers.
For sure. And thanks for the feedback. I know that it's touching people on such a deep level. I get ministered to from my own music. I put it out, and it feels like people talk about channeling and stuff. Like I'm able to benefit from my own music. Like, I listen to it and it brings me into that place. So that's awesome that, you get to share in that, and it's more than just entertainment. It touches you on a very deep, mystical, philosophical, spiritual level, which is why it's created. So I'm glad that it does that and opens those realms up for you, and creativity and, imagination and connectivity with all beings, right? To know how we're connected with Christ, but we're connected with each other, right? We talk about that, but we're also connected with the plants, with the angels, with the demons, with the elementals, right? We're connected with everything. And so to know who we are and our relationship with that stuff. And so the music promotes that, and just even promoting exploration, it's such an honor to be able to facilitate that. But thank you for the call, Devin.
Sure. Thanks. Nice talking to you.
Good to hear from you. Christy says, hey, I see her in chat. She says, is that Devin? Hey. And happy birthday to Christy. I think you said it was your birthday too. Happy birthday to you for sure. Yeah, man. You gotta check out some of my music, man. It's pretty good.
I actually heard a couple of your songs, so yeah, I'm into what I've heard. So
yeah,
very good stuff.
I've been vocal about this lately, but like that music is special for a reason, like because it come out of like pure intentions. It come out of a place of seeking, of newness, you know, of having an experience and then articulating it in the beauty of a song. And so I'm working on new music now, and I'm scared that it's not going to have the same potency because I'm kind of years removed from all of this being brand new. I know how to write a song. I know how to use those words, but that's not it. Like everything, you know, the planets, you know, have to line for that to be like, wow, there's a reason why that song touches you on that sort of level, at least in my mind. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason I hold it in high regards. And it's, you know, I've been dealing with maybe a sense of depression. Like, I don't know if I can recreate it, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think I've always like kind of taught myself, or I don't want to force anything. So as a creator, have you ever felt that way? Like not want like writer's block, or not writer's block, because you can easily write a song, but you don't want to write another song, you know?
Yeah. I'm going through that right now, actually. My band is getting ready to record a new album, and going into this, I was not in the right headspace to really get it done, but I knew I wanted to get an album out, so I agreed to, you know, get the album out, and I start, you know, writing the same old kind of songs, and it's not in me anymore to do that kind of music. Not right now. You have to be, you know, I could write that kind of music all day long, like you were just saying, but it's not something I want to promote. It's not something that, you know, I want to put out there, not because it's not quality for what it is. I mean, for the kind of music it is, it works, but it ties into what I was saying earlier in a way. You know, I'm a very heavily censored person now on the internet. I'm what they consider to be an extremist, because I believe in having a family and, you know, having a strong sense of who you are and not believing the nonsense, basically. You know, I got kicked off of Patreon, kicked off of YouTube, kicked off of Facebook multiple times, Twitter multiple times, all because I talk about flat Earth. And right now I'm talking about we'll call it the shot. How that's not maybe the best idea for a lot of people, but I'm not going to go into it right now unless you want to, but I don't want to do anything with the channel here.
I'd rather not. I already know what's going to happen. You got to play by their rules though. Like, I mean, I've been kicked off of YouTube too. You know what I'm saying? And but you come back, it's like, I gotta use code words, gotta make stuff up. And I got friends, I got people who listen to the show, and they keep creating new channels, and they keep screenshotting every time they get banned. I was like, listen, dude, you got to find a way to weave it in. You got to find a way to, like, you have to play by their rules in a sense, or kind of make your own rules up. You can't just like, boom, this is it. If you don't believe it, F you, man. Like, there's a way to sprinkle it in the conversation. Hey, if you want to know more, hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Join my Discord. You know, find other platforms that aren't as censored, where we can kind of have a no holds barred conversation. Not on YouTube. Like, we're gonna get, you know, all kind of stuff's gonna happen. You know, so there's wisdom that comes with the information and how to share it. You know, so that's a big part of it too. Whether it's sharing it through music, you know, we can share it through music, and it's less censored. You know,
one of the reasons I'm like, okay, well, we're already doing this album, so, you know, I realize I don't have to make it how I normally would. I can put some truth into these songs, and when I've realized that when you start talking about this, just over the past few years, a lot more people are receptive to it now, because they're seeing it. You know, Eddie Bravo had one of the best quotes: "Is we're no longer talking about the coming new world order. We are in the new world order right now, and we are." So I mean, we have to understand the world that we live in. When we do that, we can sort of weave our way through the cracks of what's accepted on these platforms, and, like you said, use them for sort of. And this is the hard part. People don't like to go to multiple places, but you know, I can make all this music with all this truth in it, and it's not really going to be. It won't be promoted necessarily by them, but they're not going to take it off because now I'm just an artist. Now they're censoring art. You know, as opposed to me having a channel where I'm screaming about the flat Earth and listing all these things, and, you know, that's great, but then they can easily just take that off, or, those stupid little boxes at the bottom of the thing. Flat Earth is an archaic, blah blah blah. I mean, it's censorship boxes, but it's not really censorship because we're using their platform, so you have to use the rule.
It's so weird. It's so weird. It's stupid, but you know, they've found a way to take their power back. I'm talking about taking your power back because of, you know, people were watching, and they still get the ratings, but we were all able to kind of share in that. Like there were days I was early on YouTube. I had a podcast in 2010, you know, and I put an episode out. I get 30, 40,000 views like that. The quality sucked. There's no video. It's just a thumbnail. Interesting topic, I guess, but 30,000 views. Boom. Wow. I'm lucky if I get 300 on some of those on YouTube now. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of things I think that have come into play. First of all, they're not going to promote it in the algorithms, promoting long form conversation, but some people, you know, get those numbers with, I guess, just their audience. But I think it just through the oversaturation of this stuff. Like back then, all this was new, at least on a radio show or YouTube and stuff like that. And I was able to take advantage of the algorithms. And now it seems to, you know, we're in a different game. You know, things are changing, so you got to get in where you fit in. I guess it's very discouraging, but it's part of it, especially with people getting their life's work deleted off of YouTube and getting pulled and stuff like that. That stuff that's hard, man. That's a blow. You got to be backing up your stuff. But I've had it happen, and I try my best to kind of like, you know, just play by the rules, I guess. Like there's stuff that you're gonna learn in my music that, you know, you're not gonna hear me if you see me at the gas station. I'm not gonna, hey man, you heard about the DMT elves? No, you know what I'm saying? Like you get my music, you're gonna learn about it. You listen to the podcast, we'll talk about it. You come to a retreat, we'll experience it together. It's kind of how that works. And so there's different levels that in different places where you meet people that are acceptable. I don't think it's acceptable to run around Walmart talking about the DMT elves and talking about auras and stuff.
That's a lesson that, you know, I think we all sort of learned too late, a lot of us. You know, when you see these things, you want to tell everybody about it because it's so, you know, life-changing and different than what we're used to.
Yeah.
But then they do it and they think, okay, this guy's probably used too much of it and he's crazy.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, it happened when I became a Christian. I remember going to Walmart and getting on the loudspeaker, dialing it up, and Jesus loves you, man. He's coming back soon. And it was like going over the loudspeaker. I'm like, yes, I did. I told everybody about the Lord, you know, and like that'd be silly to do now, you know. And the same thing when somebody becomes a vegan or whatever, they tell everybody, and you just do silly things. Because you have a zeal. There's a zeal. Time is short. We got to tell everybody God's coming back or whatever. We got some more callers here. We'll go ahead and jump to the next caller. Make sure that you mute the YouTube or whatever you're listening to us on and just listen to us on the phone. Quick comment here. Christy says that they took Loke Saint's album off of the platforms. Loke Saint's a friend of mine. We do a lot of similar style music, spiritual, esoteric. He does a lot more political stuff than I do. But no, they took his album off because he got flagged for a sample. They didn't take him off because he you know, said something that wasn't supposed to be said. He used a sample in his song that was from somebody else's work, and I mean, that happened to me. You know, I had a beautiful song called Spirit Awakening. I received this like a year into having the album up, received a cease and desist from a music group from Germany, where the dude who made the beat sampled monks chanting, and the person who recorded those monks chanting, I actually started getting revenue from their audio because it went through the algorithms and said, oh, that belongs to TruthSeekah because he registered this song and it picked it up. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, it's all with hip hop. It's always been that way because hip hop is heavy sample laden. Like even death metal uses a lot of movie samples and intros. My discography is littered with lectures and movies and all kinds of stuff. And it's appropriate, but you know, they can pull it because unless you get, you know, the proper clearance, and listen, most indie artists don't, you know. So anyway, that's why his album was taken off. I asked him, he told me that. But anyway, we'll jump to the next caller here. We got Darren from the 772. What's up?
Hey, yeah, I got, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, brother. How are you?
Yep. All right. Got two questions, if that's okay, for the guest,
All right.
Anthony. And I've been in and out, I've been jumping on and off, so I forgive me if question has already been answered. But so first question is, when it comes to the flat Earth, because I know when it comes to like a lot of conspiracy theories, like a lot of people, and you know this, like, you know, psychology 101, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of times people, okay, I know something you don't know. They want to feel special or think that they're like more intelligent than everybody. So they'll be like contrary and rebellious to like the mainstream, like knowledge. And so it's kind of like they'll feed into like conspiracies like that. What would you say is the difference? When does it go too far? Like, or what, I'll just ask this question. What is the point of knowing the difference, whether the earth is flat or round? Like, what is the point of even knowing that? Does it affect our lives, like our everyday life? And so that's my first question. Next question is, what psychedelics haven't you done that you would like to try? Like, have you tried ayahuasca? I know there's many psychedelics out there. Which ones haven't you tried yet? And so those are my questions. Thank you.
Question. We'll answer the. I'm probably going to have you repeat that again, but the psychedelic question. There's a lot I haven't tried yet. I wouldn't mind trying actual ayahuasca. I haven't tried that. I've just done the DMT version. I understand that's a completely separate journey in itself. So I'm interested in that. The peyote would probably be another one, and you know, I'm in the area where it grows naturally, and you know, I can literally go outside right now and probably find some. I'd sort of be interested in that as well. As for the first question, at what point does it become dangerous? Would be when you are being forceful and attempting to, you know, force other people to your mindset. And as far as, you know, the second part of your question, you're going to have to ask that again. The first part of the second part of the question.
Yeah, I was asking, like, what is the point of knowing the difference? Because nobody's proven either. I mean, it hasn't been proven either way whether it's flat or round. It's just like the age-old debate. But
well, that's actually incorrect.
Does it matter if it's flat or round? Like, what's the difference? Yeah, go ahead.
It can be proven that it's flat, at least based upon the information we have on the official model. However, what's the purpose of knowing it? That's sort of up to you. And that's where this differs from a lot of conspiracies, is that first, if the earth is a globe, like they tell us it is, then you're wrong if you say it's flat. And that's really it. You're wrong. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong. You can ask whatever questions and come to whatever conclusion you like. But that's if you can prove that it's round, but no one's ever been able to prove it's a ball and it's round like that. So in terms of it being dangerous, that's why I was saying it only matters if you're going to start being obnoxious and, you know, starting fights over it and all of that. Now, in terms of you know, what does it matter? It sort of matters to you as a person. So do you think that, you know, I don't know your mindset or, you know, any of that, but, you know, when you realize that things aren't what they tell us, you start.
Why does it matter to you? Let me ask you, why does it matter to you versus like, hey, why does it matter to me? What's the price of rice in China? Has nothing to do with me. Why does it matter to you, Anthony?
To me, what it matters is it doesn't matter what shape it is. It matters that they're lying to us about it.
Hey, I just wrote that down. The reason is because we've been lied to.
Yeah, that to me, that's the biggest thing, because the stuff that they tell you. So they say the Earth is 24,900 901 miles around in circumference. They tell you, the radius to the center of the earth, even though they've never been more than 8 miles. They tell you these things that are passed off as fact. And then we're told, you have to know this, you have to subscribe to this because it's a fact. We just know, but they don't know. And when you look at it, none of it holds up to any kind of experimentation. So the fact that they're lying about it constantly and why they're lying, I'll leave that up to you, but why does a criminal do anything they do? And it's not that they're wrong. It has nothing to do with, I'm smarter than you. I figured something out that you didn't. These people, for the most part, I think most of them know, but they can't accept it because a lot of these, it's the same thing as if you're being scammed. You fall for any kind of scam where you're paying money to people, you're trusting somebody, you're defending it to other people. You're basically attaching who you are to this idea, and everyone around you is telling you, no, that's not right. These people are scamming you, and sure enough, comes out later on you've been scammed. You're going to feel like an idiot, so you don't want to really even discuss it or look into it. So you just go with what's being told to you. And then a lot of this, we're not taught anything in school, like how to really even do these experiments. When I first got into this, I didn't know how to check anything for myself. I'm watching these videos and I'm like, okay, this sounds right. And it sounds like it makes sense to you, but how can I test this for myself and see? And that's really what you have to do in order to, if you care about, your life, how it is right now, and you're living a great life and you don't think you need anything to center you or anything, then I think you're missing out. That's my opinion. But if you're doing well in life, then, you found a way to do what's well for you. I think you could do better. I was doing well. I had, before I'm retired. I'm retired. So I just do music. I just run my label right now. And basically I do nothing but research conspiracies that I'm interested in because it makes sense to me. I've always had an analytical mind. I like knowing how things work and why it's happening. So that's me. So I find enjoyment reading these globalist documents and reading these books and, seeing these people say these things for themselves. That's how I am. Before I got into all this, though, I worked in the corporate world. I went to law school. I have several degrees from, college. I did not have time to do any of this stuff because I was living my life, what I thought the life, you're supposed to live. You're supposed to advance and do these things. When things became obvious to me, I liked my job. I liked, the life I was making really, really good money, to where I was beyond comfortable. All of that changed for me though, because you sort of see what's happening. You see what's being told to us right now. And we're not going to get into it. We just said that, but what's going on in the current state of the world today. Most people are scared of this thing that's going around, and they're wearing masks and not going to see their family when they're sick or dying, and just in general not being around people. Again, look, they say trust the science. First, science doesn't need to be trusted. It's there to be verified. It doesn't prove things one way or another. Anything saying that it's a proof or because of science, I can prove this. That's basically pseudoscience because you always have to test your things. Science is never settled. So, I believe in the flat earth. I have information that I've tested myself that does not match the information that was given to me by the powers that be, by the accepted model. And you can verify yourself. The accepted model is not correct. So you have to ask, are these people just wrong, or are they lying to you? And when you realize that they're lying to you intentionally, they're keeping you on a they basically put you in a prison. A ball is a prison. You can't get away from it. You're doing all these things, listening to people. You're getting, cotton swabs up your butt to see if you have a respiratory illness, which makes no sense. But people are doing it all because they want to go on an airplane or go to a baseball game or, whatever. When you see the deceptions of the world, you open your eyes and think, okay, well, if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about? Right. We're all high trust individuals. We're high trust people. That's sort of human nature. We all want, we project our goodness on others. So I don't think it's dangerous if you're approaching at it as I'm looking for truth, and now I'm going to live my life according to the truth I uncover. Now, if later on I find out that I'm wrong about it, I'll gladly say I'm wrong, and the earth is a globe, and I had questions, but now that I have the correct information, you have to constantly test what you're doing and test your models. It's an idea. Everything you can do, every scientific experiment that's ever been done has shown that the earth does not move and that it's not a globe. They don't tell you that, and they use these things as proof of the globe. So when someone will say, oh, what about, this or that? Most of the time I kind of chuckle, because when you get down to it, you've already proven flat earth by your question. You just don't know it because you've been lied to. And because they're lying, you can't trust anything that they tell you. If you know me and I'm constantly lying to you, and then one day I come and say, oh, by the way, we're all getting ready to die. There's going to be a bomb that goes off and everyone in this town's going to die. You would laugh at me right in my face and you wouldn't believe a word I say. So when you can go back, literally hundreds of years, and you can see these people constantly lie to you. These people are teaching the generation that comes after them. These are the people that are writing the books the next generation uses to, move on with, their version of reality. You just connect the dots. You see that it's a lie. So I think it's more dangerous to blindly just accept things and go along with it than using your mind that, you're given to objectively look at something. And that's a long answer.
Yeah,
and that's what religion and everything, D, or any conspiracy.
That literally applies for everything. There's the quote that you trust people, but you count your change. So,
right.
Take that for what it is, but you can always trust someone. It's easy to trust. I can come on here and tell you I'm a doctor. I can tell you I'm a multimillionaire. And if I act the part, or I have some things you think associates with that, you'll believe
credential. Hey, check out this credential.
Exactly. You can do anything. You can say whatever you want. But when you actually test it, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a multimillionaire. I may have a suit. I may have a business. I may own, a bunch of stuff, but I don't have millions of dollars laying around. And that's what you can do. You can either accept it. Oh, this guy is this or that. He told me this. Okay, I'm accepting it because, why would he lie? Or you could say, okay, this guy told me something. It's interesting. I'm going to look into it myself. And what I'm getting doesn't match up. That right there will tell you that it's, if you're getting different results, then you're doing, either somebody's not doing the test correctly or they're not doing it at all. That's what I'm saying. So a lot of these scientists that we think have figured things out, they don't look at previous work. They take the previous work and they, I'll just use Einstein, for example. They'll say, oh, relativity. Okay, he figured out relativity. So now let's expand on relativity. We won't go to the foundation and why he could be wrong. We're just going to build it up because it's already settled science. We know it's relativity. And, we don't know. It's a theory, and it's one that you can test, and it doesn't stand up to testing. Does that mean that it's wrong? Not necessarily, because maybe there's a factor we don't know yet, but for the factors we have, it's wrong information, tested, repeated by science, and it does not hold up to the scientific method. So because of that, based on the information we currently have, we can speculate it's not what they're saying.
That's it.
Yeah, I just, if I can, I just want to add this, and I'm going to get off. But the reason I ask, because this isn't the first time I've heard. I mean, I have a friend who wholeheartedly believes in the flat Earth, and I always give challenge that, because there's kind of like some things that are like commonsensical, because it's like, okay, well, why? But you kind of addressed it. But I've always thought, well, why would this be allowed to go on for so many years, and everybody's in on it? Like, everybody around the world is in on it. Like,
I want to throw a quick example. Just in recent times, like literally a couple weeks, Dogecoin is Dogecoin. I think it's Dogecoin is a cryptocurrency that Elon Musk created as a joke. But now it's rapidly increasing, and it has value, and everybody's putting money and invested in it. He created it as a joke. He didn't know it would turn into what it did. And so I'm sure a lot of this stuff is like, listen, we started this as a guess, as a joke, and now it's turned into philosophies that are being taught and agreed upon sciences that could have started out as a joke. Because in like, let's just say 100 years passes, Dogecoin's still here, but its conception was a joke. He didn't mean to do it. He didn't think it would pick up and people would take him seriously, but they did. And it's just a quick analogy.
Right. But what do you make of all the astro projectors, and even all of the people like the Christians, Mary Kay Baxter, and a lot of people who have, so many people who have given like testimonies, and of them going above the earth, Jesse Duplantis, all of these people who have, been out of their body, or claim they have been out of their body, met God. I don't know. I doubt that they would. I don't know why they would like be so so brave, that brave to like lie, makes up such an elaborate lie on God, knowing that what could happen to them, by doing that. But like, they look back and see the globe, the earth is a globe, astral projectors, so many thousands of people all over the world who have been out of their bodies and seen the round earth and seen the other planets. And so what do you make of that? And with that, I'll check out. Thank you.
Sure. I'll say this, the good Reverend Jesse Duplantis, he also told his followers that, he has a $37 million plane, but the Lord wants him to have a $40 million plane. So why is he telling people that? I'm sure the Lord doesn't care, what kind of air travel he takes. So I don't take people like that seriously. As far as astral projecting, 100% real, you can astral project, sure. But again, if you're lied to about something and you think something is a certain way and that's your worldview and you don't have any reason to believe otherwise, that's what you're going to see. Christians, a lot of them are apprehensive to it, so you think, but the Bible is a flat earth book. The Quran is a flat earth book. Every religious text essentially is a flat earth book. We'll just stick to the Bible. There's over 200 passages saying that the earth is stationary and immovable and, basically flat. I don't use the Bible as a evidence or proof of anything, because at the end of the day, it's a book and I don't know who wrote it or who put the stories together. And I have ideas and it doesn't look good by what you can learn about the people involved. So in terms of, what they say, I think a lot of it is a worldview that they think. They don't have any other reasons to believe otherwise. So they see it as that. You
Well,
know,
those same people, we were just saying how information or agreed upon scenarios change. Like those same people, like Christians, or they say they go to hell, like they've been to hell, like, you know, that hell is this place, and they've astral traveled to hell, and they've seen the souls crying. They're ministering to demons, trying to convert demons back into the light. Weird scenarios, right? And so the hell is this constant place that they travel to. Some of these same people, they write books on it, 23 minutes in hell and all kind of stuff. And but now even in Christendom, there's this growing belief, just even through the scriptures and Old Testament, that hell doesn't exist and has never existed, this eternal place of punishment. And so someone would say, yes, it does, because I've been there. I think there's a difference when you're going there in here. Now, if you died and you was clinically dead, and a lot of them people say that they did, and that's how they went to hell. They died, went to hell, and came back. I don't want to spend eternity and get my life right. But it's subjective. If you live in a life of, you know, debauchery, and you're about to die, and that DMT is released, and you have the psychedelic experience, and all the people that you hurt, and all the people that you've lied to and stolen from, and people you've molested, and all this baggage you've been carrying comes to greet you when you don't have the ego to hold it back or to tell yourself a different scenario, when it comes at once. Listen, that's what happens when you go into these trips. Whatever you've been suppressing, you got to deal with. Whatever you've been acting like is doesn't harm you, or your depression and all that, you got to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with the roots of your depression. That's why it's curing people's depression, to go in on a, 5 gram or more experience of psilocybin or DMT or ayahuasca. Fear of death is gone. Why? Because I died. I stared the Grim Reaper in the eyes and lived to tell about it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm back. I've been to realms that you go to when you die. Am I scared? No, because now I know what it looks like. And you know what? It feels familiar. It feels like I've been here before I incarnated here on the earth. So there's these different levels, man, that people are experiencing. And so is it the imagination? Did they really go to hell, or did they really leave the earth and look down at the earth and see it? You don't know. They don't have no proof. Did they come back with a handful of stardust? You know what I'm saying? Did they come back with secret technology on how to do it? I'm big on it. Trust me, I love it. But I like the stuff that, like it says, provable. Stuff that we can prove. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, man, I talked about on the last podcast, I can see in the spirit, man, you got 3 angels around you right now, bro. You might not believe it, but there's 3 angels on you. Trust, we run in circles where people talk. That's normal. I want to be with the dude who can summon them and they show up. Like, those people exist. They literally step in. Or a demon. When it comes to summoning demons, maybe that's easier, and so people take that route because they want proof. They want to know that realm exists. That was my problem. I took the easy route because I lived a life of sin and robbing people and stealing and gang activity and drug use and all of this kind of stuff, like negative drugs, not medicine, or abusing medicine, which becomes a drug. And I feel like when you tap in, you get to see that those entities or vibrational beings that you're entertaining because of the life that you're living. And maybe it is a scary experience that, hey, I need to change my life. I need to get right. Maybe that person goes into deep meditation and they look around and see monsters and it's uncomfortable. Like, hey, this is hell. Like, these are the beings that I'm entertaining when I'm stealing these church people's money, when I'm robbing widows and orphans, and I got to see what it's like. So yeah, I need to change my life and tell as many people to get themselves together. But all of that's going on within your psyche, within your soul. So to say that they left their body and looked at the earth, I'm sure there's people who have, but I'm not going to take your word for it,
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. And, what is hell? I believe different dimensions. So is hell a dimension? Maybe. Is there something that we think of hell like? Sure. I don't recall hell being mentioned in the Bible. So I don't believe in hell personally. Satan is just the adversary when you look at what that is.
Mm-hmm.
The adversary of God. Satan was, Lucifer is an angel. Angels trick you. Same thing these deities do. So, you have to sort of, it depends on your worldview. It's a long answer, convoluted answer, but depends on what your worldview is and what you think are possible. One of the things I did, with the DMT, very first time, I made contact and I asked them straight away. I said, is the earth flat or is it the globe we think it is? And this is before I had made up my mind about anything. I was going through my journey at the time, and they laughed at me, first of all. Then they ushered me to this, the best way to describe it is like a hamster wheel type of thing. And they put me in it. And then they pulled this rope really tight and they started spinning it around in a circle, and they started laughing and yelling at me, "You're going 1,000 miles an hour. Ha 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 ha." And then they pulled it to a complete stop. And they said, "Now you're standing on a flat earth. What feels real to you?" And you can't argue that. You're not spinning. You would know. And this is, again, learning how sound works. You can verify that what they tell us about the earth is not real.
Well, there is they've got a test to that where everyone can tell if the earth is spinning. You can actually feel it. There's a test. You drink a whole bunch of vodka and you lay on your bed, and then when you do that, you can feel the whole place spinning.
Yeah, somebody asked me once, "So what happens if you lay down on the grass? You can see the earth spin." I'm like, "No, you just see things move above you." But it's it's a fun thing. But when you understand how sound works, we'll get to that later. But to answer your question, it is you can leave your body with meditation, with yoga. You can astral project. I 100% into all of that stuff. In terms of where you're going, when you blast off on these substances, sometimes you see space, you see planets, you see everything. And when you bring that up to whoever these entities are, you mentioned, sometimes they present themselves as aliens. Sometimes they'll be a cat. Sometimes they'll be things you can't describe. And you tell them, "I know that's not really you. Show me who you really are." And a lot of times they'll shapeshift right in front of you. And that just goes to show you that you can't trust what you're seeing, and you shouldn't trust your senses necessarily. But at the same time, the sense you should be trusting is common sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we would be spinning at all in 4 different speeds and directions at once and never feel it, and have perfectly calm lakes, and we can stack paper thin objects on each other and they don't move at all. So yeah, to answer the question, I don't buy it. So that's the easiest way to say it. I believe in their mind they saw it, but they're not going.
You can't use that as doctrine proof, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can look at it. There's some, there's some weight to it. It's heavy. It's deep information. But it's just like channeled material. I channeled this being that told me this, and this, and then we find out that you've been studying this on Project Avalon message boards for years, and now you're coming out with the information saying that you got it from an entity. And this is somebody did that, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so listen, if it makes sense to you and it's helped your journey and you want to look into it, for sure, do it. I mean, there's some interesting things that come, with meditation and astral travel. For me, again, when we talk about leaving your body, I romanticize that stuff in my music, but it's not really, I even talk about it like leaving and stuff, but it's really a journey within. You go within to get without. Like when you meditate, you're going in, and that the kingdom of heaven is within. Right. And you're able to access whatever realms that exist, not by trying to make yourself leave your body, although it's how some people prefer to do it. But I really believe that you go within to do it, to go within to get without. So
I completely agree with that.
Well, one last question here. See in the chat, people want to know what band you're in. We talked about your music and working on a new album. What's the name of your band and where people can find out about your work, man?
Sure. My band name is Vorzug, VORZUG. Website is vorzug.info. That takes you right to the Amazon page. My record label is called Apollyon Music. You can go to theapollyon.bandcamp.com for my releases that I have there with other bands too. Here's the thing though. I'm not pushing my music. I'm not selling it. If you guys want to go and listen to it, by all means do it. It's free on YouTube. You can go and do that too. Just type in Vorzug. I do this to promote the music, sure, promote what I'm doing, but this is more of a thing for I want people to realize that everyone has more options. So if you don't want to associate commerce with this, don't go and look at my music. Don't look at any of the stuff I'm saying other than what I'm saying. Look into what I'm saying if it interests you. Don't believe what I'm saying. Look into it yourself. Yeah. You can find easy ways. I'll give real quick everything is going to take work. You put out what you get back what you put out. Mm-hmm. So, you can believe that the earth is round or flat, or you can go and do a test. Anyone can do it. There is curvature to the earth according to the mainstream model and science, which means there is a curvature formula. We didn't make this up. This is the Pythagorean theorem, allegedly going back thousands of years to the ancient Greece. The formula is 8 inches per mile squared, or you'll hear it 8 inches per mile per mile. Now, over long distances, that does not make a sphere. That makes a parabola. I understand this. Again, this isn't my math. This isn't my model. This is the model that NASA uses and everything else. You can go to their website, NASA's website, and it tells you the formula for Earth. It tells you all the numbers you need. Therefore, you would have to have a curvature if the Earth were a ball. You can literally never see curvature. Naked eye, zoom in cameras, infrared cameras, you will never see curvature. Again, no matter how high you get. We can go about 130,000 feet up. Amateurs, you and I, we can get balloons that can have a ceiling about 130,000 feet. After that, the balloons will pop. But when you go up there and you're not using a fisheye lens, it is a perfectly level, flat horizon. Felix Baumgartner, the Red Bull jump guy, he used a fisheye lens on the outside. On the inside of the capsule, it was not a fisheye lens. You can see a perfectly level horizon on the inside of the capsule. NASA constantly uses fisheye lenses. I don't think that they're up there to begin with. There's real videos that you can see for yourself. If you don't want to trust videos, look at what they tell you. You can pull up a video from the NASA website that's there. Trial by Fire, Orion, I believe it's called. They talk about how they have never been outside of low Earth orbit. They talk about how we can't get outside of low Earth orbit. We talk about Van Allen radiation belts being deadly, and they're super deadly. Yet during the late 60s and 70s, we sent 6 missions to the moon, and they all went through these belts, and the moon's not in low Earth orbit, but they completely forget about that. They just tell you that no, we can't do it. They lost the technology to get to the moon. Now they lost the trajectory. They had like 14,000 reels of film that they can't find, and eventually you have to ask yourself, why is that? I know this isn't the question you asked about the music. It's one of those things. I'm trying to get it all in real quick. You just have to realize that things are not what we're told. It's essentially a lie. You can verify it yourself. We can see too far. get a zoom in camera. If you go to a calm lake, or even the ocean, if you're, roughly around 6 feet tall, you should see about 3 miles out before the earth curves. You can see miles beyond that. That right there is proof that there is no curvature. When I was getting into the sound thing real quick, if you understand how sonic booms work and the speed of sound, they tell you any object, including the earth, will make a sonic boom going at that speed. The reason why the earth doesn't make a sonic boom, they say, is because it's too big to make one. That doesn't make any sense. There are laws that you can't get around. Sound is one of those laws, if you understand how it works. So real easy, you can take a drone. They say that the atmosphere spins with the earth. Therefore, the drone that you launch is already going at whatever speed you're going at that, line of latitude that you're at. And as long as you're going faster than the speed of sound, if you move that drone either direction, it would technically make a sonic boom because it's already going over the 700 and something miles per hour that you need to have for sound. That doesn't happen. No matter how low or high you get that, a helicopter, they say, again, the earth or the atmosphere spins with the earth. If you take a helicopter and you're hovering it, you don't go anywhere. You can fire a gun straight up in the air. You know how fast the bullet will come out. It goes something around 1,200 feet per second on the low end. On these higher caliber, rifles and stuff, you can get, a lot higher. You can literally shoot it straight up in the air, walk away for a little bit. You have about 30 seconds before it comes down, and it's not going to go, miles away. It's going to land right where you shot it at, essentially, within, 100 feet typically. Mm-hmm. If the earth were moving, that would not happen. Again, sonic boom, shoot a gun. That's a sonic boom. You hear it. That bullet's flying up at 1,200 feet per second. That faster than the speed of sound. You hear a sonic boom the whole time it's going at that speed. So if you shoot one straight in the air, it's going straight up. You would hear it coming down. You don't hear the sound constantly coming down of it moving through the air. It's hard to grasp the concept. You have to know how sound works. But once you do that, you realize it's not real. There is no curvature. There is no spin. Same thing with the ISS. You can, they release footage all the time of noise in space. If there's no medium, no atmosphere, no air for sound waves to travel, it will not make a sound. So it doesn't matter if you're standing right next to where your engine's at. If there's no atmosphere, you will not hear that engine make a sound. In all of their footage, you can hear outside sounds constantly. On their spacewalk footage, you hear things all the time. You see bubbles in space. The astronauts will claim they're not bubbles. They're, flecks of paint. Remember, they're going at 17,500 miles per hour from what they say. So if that's true, a fleck of paint hitting you at that speed will destroy you. If you're a person, it will destroy a spacesuit. It will destroy a satellite. It will destroy a spacecraft. And these are, metal objects. But these bubbles in space that are clearly bubbles, they're going out from underneath them. It's hitting their helmet. It's hitting their suit. If that was a real thing moving at that speed, it would completely kill that astronaut. That's the law of physics, that you cannot get around certain things. The boiling point of water. You can't get around the boiling point of water. It's going to happen no matter what. But, space will tell you that even if it's cold, it's going to boil because there's no pressure and it's a vacuum. And if you have no air, then water will boil. That's true. You can do it for yourself. But here they are in the ISS drinking things constantly and brushing their teeth. And, it's all CGI. It's all fake. And you can just see it for yourself. but you have to have the mental capability of realizing, okay, these people may be lying to us. Let's look into it. Let's look at what they're saying. And very clearly you can disprove what they're saying, just with common sense.
Yeah, see, I'm on the other side. I don't believe anything they say anymore because I know they lie, so they can't tell me the truth. Like you said, like if you had a friend, and we know those people. Like I know people who I remember this one guy. We call them pathological liars, and the one guy was like, every time I remember one dude introduced himself to a stranger that we met out at the mall, and he's like, he told him he had his own business. He told him he had his own shrimp business, and he sold shrimp. Like, you ain't got $1 to your name. He's telling me, he's like, yeah, here's my number. Take my number. I sell shrimp on the side. It's like, bro, it's weird. Another guy, he would always lie. We talk about watching movies. We was trying to find a movie to watch, and he was like, yeah, I already seen that movie, man. I don't watch it. I remember it was funny because it was the movie Left Behind, the Christian movie years ago. It's like, he's like, yeah, I don't want to watch that, man. I was like, bro, come over to the house. We got a bunch of people come over. We're going to watch it after church. He said, no, I don't want to watch it, man. I already seen it. I said, well, what's it about? He said, people getting left behind. He was lying. It just came out, and you just had those people who lie. So when it's time for them to tell the truth, I mean, such as the parable of the boy who cried wolf. They get lied all the time, lied. So when it's time to tell the truth, nobody's going to believe you because you've been lying to us this whole time,
Yeah. When you're lied to constantly, it's obvious you're being lied to. When you hear the truth, it will always resonate with you. And I think that's a lot of people don't think of that because they're not told to go based on your gut feelings. They're saying, oh, you could be wrong, blah, blah, blah. But when you hear something and you know it's true, it makes sense to you and it will stay with you no matter what.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things. It's
well, Anthony, we've gone over almost 2.5 hours on this talk.
Yeah,
man.
Sorry.
It's a good subject, man. I know we can keep going. Have to do it again, bro. People are asking one more time. Go ahead and spell your band name, even though you're not trying to plug it. They want to know how to look it up, and so just spell that one more time before we jump off here.
Sure. It is VORZUG. That is vorzug.info. Takes you straight to the Amazon page. So if you do decide to buy, you're buying from Amazon. That's its own thing. But people trust Amazon for some reason. So that's why we did that. I prefer not to sell on Amazon, but that's me. So that's Vorzug and Apollyon Music are my record labels. And I would love to come back on. We'll actually talk about law and all that stuff later and get into the real stuff, because this is just scratching the surface. Once you realize that they're lying about this and they're lying about everything else, you can sort of start realizing. I will say this to the viewers and listeners: read the Constitution. Has nothing to do with flat Earth, but read the Constitution. It's a document that actually does not apply to us, but because we have it and they say it applies to us, it does. So use that to your benefit. When you read the U.S. Code, they tell you in the U.S. Code that basically they're acting as body politic, color of law. Look at Black's Legal Dictionary. That's the real dictionary. We have slang, we have the King's English that everyone knows the definitions to. Then there's legalese, and that's in Black's Law and Cornell Law dictionaries. That's the dictionary they use. So to leave this, if you don't know, if you're driving and you get pulled over and they're asking you, you're not driving, you're traveling. Know the difference. Driving means you're engaged in commerce. If somebody asks you, do you understand something? Tell them, no, you do not understand it. You comprehend it, but you don't understand it. Understanding it means that you're standing under it, which means you're giving somebody your jurisdiction. You don't want to tell anybody you're an individual. Individual means you're a moron and a child. You don't want to tell anybody you're a person, because a person can mean a fictitious business. You're a man or a woman. That's how you refer to yourself. We were created by God or the creator, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. Man made government. Government made courts. And then Under that, you have taxpayers, you have citizens, you have whatever else you want to be called. Anything other than man or woman who is known by whatever your name is. The other thing is your name is in all caps for a reason. Investigate what that means. It's not the most important thing, but it's pretty important when you see what that means. So anytime you get a summons with an all caps name, that's not you. Bills in your name, you should always pay your bills. I'm not saying not to. If you agree to do it, you should do it. However, you don't. You don't have to when you realize what it is. But we'll get into all that stuff another time. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, pretty much we can end it with this.
Yeah.
Listen.
Excuse me, everyone, I have a brief announcement to make. Jesus was black, Ronald Reagan was the devil, and the government is lying about 9/11. Thank you for your time, and good night.
Ladies and gentlemen,
100%. They're lying.
Anthony, thanks for coming on, brother. Really enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again, man. Many blessings.
Thanks for having me.
Enjoyed it, man. We'll do it again.
You too.
Peace, peace. Anthony Hoyes, ladies and gentlemen, check out his band. Good stuff, good stuff. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed the callers. We had some great callers call in and added to the conversation. I'm glad we're able to do that now. Taking callers again, which is always fun. Nobody's called up cursing and screaming yet, and maybe when they do, we'll stop taking callers. I don't know. It's one thing we always have to worry about, people calling without a call screener again. I'm trying to pull up the chat here one last time, see if anybody said anything good. And I've been paying attention to the chat as well. Bunch of really cool stuff. Shout out to everybody hanging out with us. Metro says, I love the Boondocks. Thanks for calling in, Metro. Enjoyed your questions too. You too, D and Devin as well. Metro says, my man screaming his heart out, the good old flat earth. Yep. Again, just about being lied to again. Like if you know, if they're willing to lie to you about anything that is like the agreed upon narrative, anything, you know, for me, my big thing is NASA and UFOs and all of that kind of stuff. Like they have to know the Vatican, they have to know about this stuff. So it's like people are doing independent research and like he said, it's not lining up to the narrative. Somebody's wrong, or maybe both are right at the same time. That's interesting. Or they know that they're lying to you. Why can't you question it? You're not supposed to question this stuff. And D-Rock says, I think whoever can prove this should be rich and famous because they would be like Christopher Columbus of space. I just don't understand why this isn't bigger news if it's true. That's essentially saying that you believe whatever is the big story, whatever is the big scoop, because it's getting coverage. You know, so the thing about the conspiracies is none of the conspiracies get coverage. None of them get coverage. Only their narrative. And so you already know that whatever is being covered, I mean, you've seen those videos of all of the news stations get sent the same script, and they all report on the same thing. The only thing that you get that's original is your local news. The rest of that, they literally read and reiterate the same scripts. National news, world news. Only thing you get is the local stuff to make it seem like it's personal, and they get somebody from the area to speak to you, so you resonate with it like it's truth, whether that's what's on the news or television or actors or whatever the case is. So, but yeah, you got to do your own research, and it's different things for different people. Again, like, what does it mean to you for flat Earth? What does it mean to you for NASA, or 9/11, or whatever conspiracy, or religion? Everybody comes into this from different perspectives. Alex Jones got a lot of people into it, and most people abandon Alex Jones, but they do give credit because, like, yeah, I started because his stuff was readily available. Not anymore. Alex Jones wouldn't have been a threat, if he didn't have a different narrative. Somebody believed his narrative. Johan says, I remember Sid Roth's It's Supernatural segment on the Vatican's Astro Observatory Lab. Look up the actual name. Yeah, Lucifer. Lucifer is the name of the observatory. I think rightfully so. I think the Vatican knows the true name of Lucifer, or say the true meaning of that word. So that word is not Satan or the devil. Lucifer is something totally different. It's actually Venus. If you look up that dictionary and look up what Venus means in the name of Venus, or you look up Lucifer, it'll tell you that they are one and the same, and how Isaiah 14 mentions Lucifer, and it's not talking about the devil. It's actually used as an analogy for man, but the analogy comes from Venus being the bright and morning star that is kicked out of the heavens when the sun rises, and the brightest star is put to shame. Like, oh yeah, you thought you were hot stuff until my daddy comes, until the rising of the sun, which is symbolic for Christ, for the dawn of a new day. Listen, a lot of these metaphors and terminology is interchangeable. So whatever it takes, people are different. So again, religion, you find out there's holes in religion. You find out there's holes in heliocentric and flat earth or NASA or whatever, and they say, oh, it's not real. And then you have these people that they put out, Bill Nye and the other guy, I just forgot his name, but they put these people out, and they won't. I would like to see those people debate like a real flat earther. You'll see documentaries, but they got these random people on. Nobody who's actually done the research, done the science, have actually sat down and had conversations. Like, why would you even fear the conversation? Well, they think that even just having the conversation is elementary, and it's not even questionable. There's a lot of people that believe it. People are reaching out to a lot of people. So it's getting bigger. I don't think it's going anywhere. Sure, like one of the biggest shows I've done in a long time was the Flat Earth episode. Like that, I don't think it's because of his audience or whatever, but that video podcast episode has way more views than a bunch of my videos put together. So that's interesting. People want it, got to give the people what they want, I guess. Let us know what you want to hear about. I'm always open for looking for new guests and looking for stuff to talk about. I don't really personally like, jumping in on flat earth and staying on that, but hey, every now and then, I think we've done 2. This would be 3, I guess, if this is pretty much a flat earth episode. So this would be 3. So I think there's 3 episodes out of 400 and something that are about about flat earth. So yep. But with that said, I'm gonna say peace and shalom. If you want to be a part of the webinar tonight, go to themysticcircle.net. And somebody was asking about the tickets and how the tickets work. Listen, if you're a member, you get access to everything. Membership gives you access to all the webinars, the live webinars, Q&A, the past webinars, the documentaries, the meditations, everything. But if you don't, a lot of people are scared to sign up for something reoccurring, even though you can cancel at any time. So you can buy a single access ticket. But if you read the description, you don't have to have a ticket if you're a member. You get everything. So yeah, join us tonight, 7 p.m. Central. No School of the Mystics. School of the Mystics will coincide with the webinar tonight. So you get access to that from themysticcircle.net. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out with me. I've been keeping an eye on the chat. You guys are awesome. And really, again, I like the phone line features, and I'm glad we opened that back up. So peace, guys. We'll do it again very soon. Peace, peace.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.